everybody, and welcome back to the Inky Thoughts podcast. Today, I've been looking forward to this episode quite a bit because I always have a good laugh when I talk to this gentleman that's here with me today, and he's been treating me very nicely over quite a few years now. I'll actually say I've known him by now, by chance, and he's been running one of my personal favorite conventions in the world I've been to so far in Edinburgh, Scotland, which might reveal to some of you who might be on the other camera right now. Uh, but before I reveal too much, because we are going to talk a lot about conventions today, Jim, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yep, so my name's James Aitken. I've been working in tattoo studios for 26 years. Started out as a desk guy, became a body piercer for a few years, and then did an apprenticeship and started tattooing in 2001. Started the Scottish Tattoo Convention in 2011, and we've continued to run it till today.
Aye, it's quite fascinating sometimes when you hear your story on that, because we always think, first of all, to me, you always look younger than you are, to be honest. So whenever you say you've spent that long in it, I always get baffled. But it's also interesting when somebody have started out as a piercer and then went, tattooer and then convention.
I mean, it was more of the case when I started in the tattoo studio. You're talking early 1998. There wasn't as many studios. So I worked between two studios at the time, and I just wanted to make myself vital to a shop. So volunteered my time, cleaning, mopping, taking appointments, answering the phone 2 days a week, until the point where I was doing so much in the shop, I needed to find a way to make money in the shop. And that was for me at that time, was the faster way to get in,
It is simpler, so to speak. I mean, there's a lot of safety and sanitation to do with it, especially today as well. But it is
more at the time that shops didn't have multiple artists like they do now. So a big shop back then was 2 or 3 artists. Now a standard shop has 5, 6, 7 artists. So we just weren't sure there was enough work to go around, because it was still at that time where tattooing was still on the way up, and you didn't know if there was going to be enough to support multiple artists. So if I wanted to be in the shop every day, the guy who owned the shop wasn't going to let me take the food from his mouth. So I did that, and then while I was doing that, I trained in another shop, and then I worked between the two shops.
Jesus.
3 or 4 years. So I was working 7 days a week doing that. And
both in Edinburgh, where was it?
One in Edinburgh, one in Bathgate, which is about 30 minutes from Edinburgh. That's where I started. And it was a guy from the town I live in opened that shop. And I started working there doing 2 days a week or whatever it was, pretty much the day it opened. And I still work there now. So 26 years.
Is that FTH? That's the one?
FHT, yeah. So
FHT, sorry.
So I worked there, and then I worked at a shop in Edinburgh, and then I moved to a different shop in Edinburgh for a few years. I moved down south for just under 3 years, and then came back. But I've always kept my connection with Bathgate because it was the initial shop. It's been really good to me. The people are really nice. And obviously the amount of time I've been there now, I'm still tattooing people from 2001, but now I'm tattooing or their grandkids, you tattoo their sisters, their brothers, their aunts, their uncles. So it's great, man. It's a great wee community. And I'm really privileged to still, I've got a lot of freedom. People now trust me as the older guy, where they come in and I'm like, right, this is what we're doing. And they know it's cool. And, and then you do a good job, they'll book in for next month or 2 months down the line. So it's steady. That takes care of itself,
I mean, you do also have a certain vibe about you, as the kids would say, whenever you come into a studio. I mean, I've had a couple of sessions with an artist that works in a studio of Jim's in Wishaw, another wee Scottish town. And when Jim comes in the room, he's there. He's very friendly. It's not like a man that takes up the whole space, but he'll say, cheeky fucker, I'll tell you that much. He'll come in.
You know what, man? That's the good thing about tattooing, though, because it should be an enjoyable social occasion. I love getting tattooed. I love tattoos. I love to the shop. Man, if I couldn't have got a job in tattooing, I would have been the guy who hung out in the tattoo shop 2 days a week for free anyway.
See, that's what I miss as well, because I used to know people that had studios in Copenhagen, and even when I wasn't getting tattooed, I'd be sitting in there doing my fucking, essays for my master's degree and stuff like that,
It's amazing. I come from a fairly small town in Scotland. The town I'm from is a population of about 10,000 in the greater area. And then, so you're meeting everyone. One day you're tattooing somebody who's a police officer or a judge or a lawyer or a teacher or whatever. The next day it's someone who's been in jail for 15 years or they're smuggling stuff to Europe. And it's amazing, and hearing the old guys' stories coming in, or
Aye.
you've got some kind of middle-aged woman comes in and she looks quite quiet, and then she's telling you it turns out her dad was a famous bank robber or something. Oh man, like what other job would I have where I've got to do that, and speak to these people and learn? It's amazing, man. It's a great thing.
It is quite incredible because even as a client, when you start, sitting there, especially another reason I love longer sessions, you meet other people that are in there, you meet some of the artists, you get to know them. You hear so many stories both from the artists and other clients about why they're getting that tattoo or some other weird shit that happened because people
And
come
that's it.
in
You
all
you
guns a blazing sometimes.
you've tattooed by a couple of guys I work with regularly, and it is, man. You never know who's in that chair, but that's what we try and promote with everyone is just that openness, that friendliness, because no harm to them, man. I've worked with a few of these guys, but I couldn't sit tattooing with headphones on all day and a
No.
little own. I couldn't think of anything worse, and I get it, some people need to concentrate for their art and everything, but
Aye.
it's tattooing, it's not just art, it's tattooing. It's a social occasion, go back, this, you're a sociologist. You go back
Aye.
to history, it was an important thing, but it wasn't always just about the art, it's about everything else. It's about the magic of it.
Aye. I mean, that is part of we digressing a bit, but that is part of the reason why I am not for the whole going under full anesthesia while getting tattooed. I mean, even ignoring all the stuff about the pain or the risks of anesthesia, part of it for me is talking to people.
Of course,
It's
but even
being
then,
there for the banter and everything.
the whole point of a tattoo is you earn it.
Aye,
Like
that's the other part.
you don't go under anesthetic and get tattooed. That is the lamest thing you could ever do. That's like getting a helicopter to the top of Mount Everest, getting out and taking a selfie. So fucking jump off Mount Everest, you prick. It's tattooing's a thing, man. You earn it, and during that, yourself, man. There's times when you get tattooed, it's really uncomfortable. There's times where
Aye,
it's, but that's when you get through it. But you talk to other people, you chat to
aye.
your, and a good artist will always be watching you. They'll always be aware of how you're doing, and they'll keep on top of that. They'll check with you. They'll chat. They'll take your mind off it. I've got some jokes that I can tell that last for an hour if I need to, man. And I will.
I'll fucking show you do, Jim, to be honest.
Easy an hour, easy. But that's to me, that's what it's about. That's what was so attractive to
Aye,
me when I started. Obviously, the art as well. It's crazy. As a kid going out to tattoo shops and you're looking at
aye.
a wall full of skulls, a wall full of wizards, or whatever
Mhm,
was on the wall, bright colours or black and grey, whatever. It
aye.
was so attractive and it was so cool. And
That's
then
that's what I like because when I was at the Scottish Convention this year, I actually got invited by Stephen, literally, to
oh
his
yeah,
studio, and I got invited by Bassa to go and see his studio in Glasgow as well. It's that thing, like it's that thing when you actually get to know people within this community, you really they want to sort of show they want to tell you and show you where they are and talk to you about these things. And it's fucking fantastic because when you're in, you're absolutely in. And I remember talking to Stephen in his studio and just looking at it, he was almost sad to see me go. He was getting another client, and I was like, "Oh, you're getting another client. I'm gonna head off and see a bit more of the city." Then Stephen, he was like, "Oh, you sure? I've got a smoke here and other stuff. You can always stay and hang out a bit." Class thing.
Stephen's second generation tattooer. So
I know it's
Stephen,
incredible.
Stephen's been doing it, been in tattoo studios since he was a boy. So
Aye,
he loves it. I love
aye.
I don't see Stephen that
Plus,
often, a couple of times a year, but it's always great, because he's
aye,
enthusiastic for it. Stephen's a few years older than me. Stephen
aye.
actually, dad did my first tattoo. So
I
Terry
know.
Terry outlined it and then Stephen coloured it in because he was still apprenticing. That's how fucking uh,
Nice.
but and it's the same. You get into his shop. He's got his wee corner. It's like a museum,
Aye,
and then he's got books that his dad had. Because his dad was president of the
aye,
Nats. So he's got books from Ed Hardy. He's got letters from
aye.
Rollo.
It's incredible stuff. It's like a museum. It reminded me a bit of Frank's museum here in Copenhagen. It's all this stuff from several generations of tattoo artists, all there in that little wee Scottish shop there.
And it's just the respect, that he has for it. That he's kept these books
Aye.
because he knows they're important. But he's no precious about it. He'll let you hold them.
No.
It's like, oh, there's a drawer,
Absolutely.
and you open it and there's 4 books that are
Shit, man.
amazing.
I mentioned the picture he had of his dad with Billy Connolly, and
Oh,
I took it down and showed me it. He was like, I didn't even ask to see it like that. He was just like, oh, cool, yeah, here, have you go, see it. Then I
no,
got
that's
the whole story, which is a good story, by the way, because that's very much how my impression of Scottish people back in the day. They meet in LA, and he just hears a tattoo artist at a convention in LA speaking Scottish. So Billy comes over and goes, oh, you're from Scotland. That's all it took, man.
man, that's it. That's aye. And obviously, being Scottish of the generation I am, that's
Aye,
everybody loves Billy Connolly. So you're just like, oh, my
aye,
dad.
the bacon, aye.
And that's like meeting God if you're in Scotland and you're my
I
age.
don't know. If you've never been, we'll get into the convention talk in a bit because this actually leads into it a bit. But if you're ever in Glasgow, you'll see this bearded man on a lot of murals and everything. That's a legendary individual, stand-up comedian,
Yeah,
actor called Billy Connolly. Or to the
amazing
locals,
stand-up comedian, terrible actor.
aye. Or to the locals, the Bacon.
Aye, big
Aye.
kid.
And that's how he's known. In Glasgow, that's who you're talking about if you say the Bacon. If anybody mentions the Bacon, ask the guy.
Yeah.
He also got tattooed, but he actually apparently got tattooed by Stephen Starr at that convention as well.
Oh, aye, class.
I think so. I know he's been to the studio as well, his dad's old studio in Glasgow as well, I think.
Yeah, I remember that from the newspaper article at the time. I think he got a banjo tattooed in his hand or something. I don't, yeah, whoever did it for the
But is
shop.
this time? But this is the thing, like the what we talked about so far, these stories and the love for tattooing. I think that's what culminates at conventions like the one you put together.
Yeah, I hope.
Because I mean, I'm not going to talk for you, but I can clearly tell when I've been there from the first time I went from a former job of mine just for a day to the other couple of times I've been, that you put a lot of effort into making sure everybody can be there,
Yeah,
and that there's a lot of representation, but also that it's just a good, nice time where there's no thing stressing people. People really relax at this convention, I
yeah.
feel.
So I mean, yeah, a lot of that is definitely a concentrated effort. I'm a working artist, and I've done conventions. I think I went to my first tattoo convention in 1993. So I've
Aye.
been to a lot of conventions, and to me, there's nothing worse than when I can tell the people who are organising the convention or running it are stressed or they're bummed or
Aye.
they hate each other, or you can see them walking out to backstage and they all hate each other.
Aye.
You know this, man. You see it,
Aye.
and it's
Aye.
wild. Or you see the
Absolutely,
guy
man.
who's in charge, absolutely steaming or out his face on drugs, shouting at people, and you're like, man,
I'm not going to name any names, but I have been to some conventions where they're big name conventions, but you know people aren't really enjoying it. They're there for the
they're there because
advertisement, and because the people running it are not having fun, and they're not making anybody else having fun.
it comes right down. I'm lucky enough when I started it, I was quite naive,
Aye.
because there hadn't been a convention of that size in Scotland ever. Just
No.
because of the licensing, the legislation is really difficult for Edinburgh. I had to have maybe half a dozen meetings with them,
Fucking
basically
hell.
a business plan and sit down. The first thing they told me was no, which they told other people as well. But I managed to pull a few connections together. I used to work with one of the guys who organised London,
Aye,
so
aye.
I asked him a little bit of advice, and he was really open, told me some stuff, and then I could go back with the business plan and meet all the criteria,
Aye.
and then it was just a case of calling friends of mine. So
Mm.
you walk in that convention, the people at the front desk taking the tickets or putting the wristbands on are guys I went to school with. My
Oh, I
nephew,
know, I know. I've had a very intimate introduction to them back in the day.
yourself, you come over as a visitor and you ended up staying for 2 days borrowing socks and pants. And going,
Fucking hell. I've actually, this is going to be real to him if he sees this, but I've actually written in my calendar for next year, a week before, that I'm going to go buy Dury socks.
he still goes on about it, you owe my pair of
I
socks.
don't know.
So, I mean, for that, the good thing with that, so everybody there I've known forever.
Aye.
So, in the same way, if they need help to move a house, I'm there lifting a couch for them. I need
Aye.
help for that weekend, they come and help me. And we couldn't do it otherwise, because the margins are so tight and to do it that if it wasn't for them, it just wouldn't be the same. Because the guys, everybody helps. It's not just
Aye.
one or two people working hard. Everybody works
Well,
really
it's a
hard.
combined effort. You get, if one link of the chain breaks, it all comes unraveled.
Like I'm the guy sitting here talking about it because I'm the guy who does the floor plan and sends the
Aye.
email. But when it comes to the weekend, man, it's everybody. Everybody is just, you're only as strong as the guy next to you. And it really is like
Aye.
that. We go in on the Thursday, start setting up. We're in on the Friday, we're doing the sinks, we're doing the chairs, we're doing the tables. Breakdown on the Sunday is the same. Then we go and get a meal, we go to the after show, and then we hang out a couple of days after. We go on a road trip. And it's amazing, man. And I've said to the guys, because we are all getting older. And I'm like,
Aye.
the plan was we were going to do 10, which
Aye.
would have taken us up to 2020, but then COVID came along.
Aye.
So it was 2023 before we managed to get the 10th one done. And then with that break, and obviously we're still hanging out in that break, everybody was like, you know what, let's just keep going because we're still fit enough, healthy enough, we're still enjoying it.
Aye.
That, and it's a good chance for us to hang out. A lot of the artists who come
Plus,
now,
people kept saying because the rumor came out. I was there at the 10th one last year, and the rumor had already come out that Jim was gonna maybe call it quits after that one. And people kept going every time Jim was talking to somebody and that happened upon him. People would go like, "Are you gonna do another one? Please do another one. Come on, you gotta do another one."
but you know what? Even with that, 10 was going to be the one. That was the
Aye.
plan. And even at the convention at that weekend, it was still going to be.
Aye, I know.
But then I sat down with my guys, and guys and girls, but guys, and we had a chat, and we're like, you know what, man, like we still enjoy it, and we've got friends who travel, so it might be if we've got friends coming from the States or Spain or Italy or whatever, it might be the only chance some of them get to see them is once a
Aye.
year at the convention for 3 or 4 days or whatever. So we would miss it, we would miss the social
Oh,
aspect of that,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
it really is the point now where probably 80% of the artists come every year. 85% of the artists come every year and they bring their friends.
Aye.
So it really, you're delighted when you see someone walk in who you maybe haven't seen for a year. And
Aye.
then you meet a new guy or a new girl that comes with them and you're like, this is amazing, And for me, I love walking around. I do it if I'm not,
Aye.
if I'm not tattooing in the shop, I still go and look what other people are doing because I like to see tattoos being done. I still love it.
Aye.
I'm just back this weekend. I was over in Eindhoven at the True
All
Blue.
right, all right, yeah.
Amazing. And I just went as a visitor. I drove to Bruges, seen some friends, drove over to Eindhoven on Saturday morning with a couple of friends from here, had a great time, went home. And that's, I obviously saw a few people I know, but I
Right.
really wanted to go because I'd heard good things, had a great time, loved it.
Right.
They did some things that I was like, that's a good idea. They had a banner, and a lot of the artists had painted banners, and they had a exhibition, and it looked great, man.
Nice, man.
It was really good. So I like to go to things like that, and then I can steal some ideas for my convention.
I love the honesty there, Jim.
But hey,
I'll steal some ideas, you know.
but I kind of look at it like if somebody's got something good, I'll steal it. I don't care. I'm a
Of
tattoo
course,
guy.
of course.
But the same token, you go to some conventions and you're like, this is rubbish. They could steal
Aye.
some ideas from.
Well, there's one we always keep talking about, but that's
Yeah, we'll let that die in the water. But
we'll let that we won't mention it here. But there's one off camera. I would say me and Jim talk about quite a bit. But I mean, the thing is, to me, I've always categorized like if I had to make two general categories, there are conventions like yours, where it's very much like almost a family reunion in a way. Like
yeah, of
people
course.
really have. There are also people being introduced to new, both within guests and others to us coming. It's very open in that way, but a lot of people that come there are regulars, so we come to see people we've seen before, and we know people around. And I was enjoy seeing you and the whole team, Carson, Dury,
Yeah,
and everybody. And so the tattoo artists I know just at a meet at that convention, like you say. And then there's other conventions where it's like, for example, Brighton is a bit more like this for me, where you go and you network and you meet new people. It's still a good time, but it's not the same thing because it's so massive that you can't
yeah,
possibly meet everybody there.
yeah, and it is. It's much bigger,
Aye.
and it's kind of it's set out in a different way. Like I haven't been at Brighton for a couple of years, but I worked the first few Brightons, and for me, it was amazing. It was
Aye,
such,
it is.
and it probably still is. It's just an inconvenient time of year. But no, I think with the UK shows, because the UK is quite small, really. If you've got some artists traveling, it is a great chance to network, like you say. But I'm always kind of wary when things get too business orientated with people
Aye.
networking. And you can tell, there's some artists come and they just want to be friends with the guys with 100,000 likes or 250,000 likes on
Mm.
Instagram or whatever. And if you do good work, that's better for me.
Aye.
If you're a nice person, that's better for me because
Aye.
it helps everyone. If you apply for the convention and we have space and we get you in, if I don't know you, I'll put you in the floor plan next to someone who's a friend of mine or someone I know.
Aye, right.
Because I've been in that position where you might travel to a convention and you've forgotten something. You've forgotten a clip cord or your foot switch breaks, or now your battery runs out of charge or whatever. And it's for me. So if you came along as an artist from Copenhagen, I would put you next to someone I know from here. So they'll have some.
Aye.
They can loan you an armrest. They can loan you whatever you need, carbon paper, a razor, whatever.
Aye.
And it's just that's the kind of benefit I've got. And I know Woody from Brighton as well. Woody's very particular in his floor plan, and he's kind
Aye.
of similar. And it's the luxury I've got. We are just under 200 artists, so I plan it like I set in my floor
That's
plan.
still kind of massive by now, It's still
But
quite
then,
big.
man, I'm for the days where 30 artists was a big convention.
Aye, fuck it up.
The first shop I worked in Edinburgh had 3 tattooers, and you'd have thought it was like a city. It was wild. And now it's like, oh man, there's only 3 people in this shop. It's tiny. But, so I sit with the floor plan printed out on a big sheet of paper, and I plan it like a wedding. This person can't get next to this person because they stole from them, or they did this, or they did that. And
Or they don't get along, whatever,
it happens, man. It's
Aye.
business as well. You've always got to vary that. Some people fall out in business. I've fallen out with people over the years, so I'm very careful
Aye.
who's next to who, and we don't put all the realism guys in one area. We don't put all the traditional artists in one area. We spread it round, and it's more just on
Aye.
trying to get that
Yeah,
mix of.
because you do get conventions where they think it's really cool to be like, oh, this is the new school line, or this is the new traditional aisle, or this is the black and grey aisle,
And tattooing's a different place now where a lot of
Aye.
people are friends with. But I'm still from the days where there was still a rivalry. If you open a shop in my town, I want to be better than you. So it's the same. If I'm going to a convention, I don't want to be next to 10 people that do
The
similar.
same thing.
If one of the people from my shop goes, I don't want them next to 10 people doing similar stuff or watering stuff down. Go and mix it up. It's boring.
It stands out more if you mix it up as well.
Well, like I went to a convention last year and it was very realism heavy, which is fine,
Aye.
man. It's impressive, especially if you're not.
In Europe.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I thought so.
if you're a casual observer for tattooing, that stuff's really impressive.
Aye,
Because
that's
looking at the photograph and the skill level of some of these people is unreal. But every artist in that row, their banner was just a photograph of themselves with a sponsor on it, and they were all wearing headphones. It was so fucking.
Nah, that sucks.
You're walking down and I love going, buy a t-shirt, buy a print, whatever else.
No.
But weekend, there was nothing. It was like they printed out something for Google, that was their flash, and you just
Fuck it up.
and you put 20 of them in a row, and it's 20 times worse. It's 20 times more boring.
Yeah, I mean, fully agree. But that's the
So
thing. It's not just the art. It's also like, what they sell, how they interact with people, what have they got there? Because, some do some art, some have some T-shirts there, stickers, all sorts of stuff.
especially now because tattooing is kind of in a weird time where people are a bit more smart about it and they're a bit
Aye.
more business orientated themselves. So everybody has merch now. You
Aye.
go to a tattoo convention now, some shops have 10 t-shirts, sweatshirts, slash. Like back in the day, you would go and maybe half the people would have a black t-shirt with some white writing on it, and you'd be buzzing to get it. You'd be like,
Aye.
my cool guy tattoo t-shirt. And
I think that's what you should do for the convention t-shirt next year, just old school, like just Scottish tattoo convention in black, in white writing on a black shirt.
But so people are smarter now, and it's cool as well. People are there
I
to
think
make
so.
money, and some people are real fans of tattooers now. So there's
Aye.
we went to Catania in November, and Bert Crack was there. And it was like seeing, I don't know, man, like a really popular band. You know, people were queuing up just to buy merch.
I
People
mean,
were
that's
buying.
how I feel seeing Beth Ross and seeing her work and buying her art because I've been following her for fucking years and she's an incredible new traditional artist, you know.
Course, and it's the same. Like I love there's tattoos I love, and I'll always buy whatever they bring out. You know, if
Aye, aye,
Paul Doberman brings a new book out, I'm buying it.
aye.
You know, if I bought Rich Hardy's last book, and it's great. But I'd not, the thing with like Bert Track's amazing. The style's so cool, but his merch was cool as well. And people were queuing up to buy, and were buying, say, he had 4 shirts or whatever. They're buying all 4. They're going online with one of the sizes, and they're buying. You know, it's kind of cool, kind of a wee bit too businessy. I like the kind of piratey circus aspect of tattooing, but then
Aye,
that is make your money when you can, you know?
aye. That is true. I mean, there is always that conflict, it seems, for lack of a better term, between
Yeah,
keeping it a bit more down to earth and a bit more circusy, as you call it, and
yeah.
then needing to make money and keeping it running and
And man,
adapting with the times in that way.
let's not be naive, you know, tattooing
No,
was
no.
a profession. It's a money-making business. You know,
Aye,
like I don't know if you've seen Terry Manton's book about the history of tattooing in the
aye,
UK. It's amazing, you know, and the amount of
aye.
people who are traveling around, you know, they would travel to Sheffield with the fair, and but they would catch the holidays there, then they would go to Glasgow for their holidays, Edinburgh for their holidays, Manchester, Newcastle, London. You know, they were just going around making a living while they could. So it's
It's
kind of
quite
the same.
incredible. You would love a guy that was in the Danish history book of tattooing, which
Mhm.
was a guy who had an old fishing boat, and then he sailed around to every harbor
Oh,
in Denmark and
I know, I
tattooed.
know,
And it was just
I know,
him,
but
his wife, and their dog on the boat, and then they just sailed around.
like, yeah, I kind of love that, you know, and it's the same
Aye,
like
I get it.
Terry was saying, like there was a lot of itinerant tattooers, and then he's done an article in the book about a person he travelled with the
Oh.
Barnum and Bailey Circus and stuff, and then came back here and exhibited. So interesting, you know.
Aye, there is that old. I think the Americans were liking it to a cowboy kind of like lifestyle. They had tattoos back in the day, you know, roaming town to town and plying their wares and that.
Yeah,
There's something cool about that.
yeah, there really is, but it must have been hard as well.
Aye, that's the other side of it. I think that's
Because
a rough living as well.
rough living some rough towns as well, and
Aye.
you have heard this as well. You know the way shops used to be,
Aye.
having to fight people and throw people out, man. You know, like physically. Yeah, I mean, I threw a guy out about 2 weeks ago here, but he was
It's not that long ago.
on that. But it was, you know, but I'm kind of at that stage now. I was just like, I go, but
Aye.
it must have been so hard, you know, because and especially for the guys who kept tattooing going in the 70s and 80s when tattooing was really down.
Hmm.
It was coming off the back of people not having much money, and
Aye.
then obviously there was the AIDS, HIV things in the early 80s, almost killed tattooing in the UK. You know, I
Aye.
can't speak for Denmark, I wasn't there, but
No,
um,
no.
it was hard going, you know. And when I was a kid, I was lucky enough there was a tattooer in the town I grew up in. So
Aye.
that's why I was so aware of it at an early age, because I remember my uncle going to get tattooed, and we would go and pick him up or whatever, and he had a bandage in his arm, and the colours are so bright, and there's blood coming out, and you're just like, this is cool, you know?
Aye. That is the thing, man. I used to see them on some people that would have them out when I was away in the 90s, and I was so in love with them that my favorite thing to do would get transfer tattoos in bubblegum packets and covering
Yeah.
my body in them. So my parents already knew from an early age, oh, he's
Yeah.
definitely gonna
Well,
we're gonna have some talks with him when he becomes a teenager because he's gonna be wanting tattoos.
well, that's it. Like my parents are not, none of them had any tattoos or
Aye,
anything.
same here.
You know, I had maybe one uncle that had a few professional tattoos,
Hmm.
and maybe a couple of uncles that had done like hand poke, stick and poke stuff when they were drunk.
Uh,
And that was it. But I always remember I used to walk past that shop on the way to school, and you would hear the noise and the smell. You know, it was Dettol or whatever the smell was at the time. And then so cool, man. And to have that still be a part of my life now is wild. You know, it's great. I love it.
But speaking of the noise of that, because that's another thing I have with conventions, that there's a certain noise, a certain buzz in the air when you enter a convention. It's just nice to hear. Even that one moment, because I'm a very keen guy, so I'm one of the first in the door for gyms. When you're just walking in while people are just figuring out the space and that, seeing where people are. There's this buzz and excitement about it. It's just, you can't beat it.
And again, I think we're lucky enough that with the mix of artists we have, especially
Aye.
Edinburgh, a lot of people are still using coils, because you go to a
Aye,
lot
that's true as well.
and they're using pens or they're using whatever, and it's silent. So you start to hear how bad some of the music choices are, and you start to hear, and you can't
Is that what you miss? You miss the coils deafening out people's music
a
taste.
little bit. But I'm lucky enough I get to choose the music for Edinburgh, so I know it's good.
Aye, that's true. You have to put more music acts on then so you can control it further.
We've done that a couple of times, but you
Aye.
you always have to be aware that like how
Aye.
I would choose my perfect convention for me as a person
Aye.
wouldn't be the same as yours, wouldn't be the same as people
Aye.
coming. So there's two sides of the coin where you
Aye.
have to really cater to the artists because they're the people working. They're paying their money
Aye.
to.
They're there the entire day.
Of course, man, right? And that's it.
Aye.
They're there all day, both days, but they're also taking time out of their shop to travel.
Aye.
You need to respect
It
that.
has to be worth it for them.
Of course. But then the people who are coming and buying tickets and coming to the convention, I don't know if you've ever been to a convention with no music and no entertainment. It's fucking boring after 20 minutes.
Once it's not fun. It's near fun. Ooh.
Terrible, man. If you go as a just having a look around, it's so boring.
I went
So
to one. I went to one once that I can't even remember where it was. I just know it was here in Northern Europe, something where it seemed like a fucking petting zoo. There's no music going on, nothing. People just slack. It was just like lethargically moving about the fucking few booths there were. And that it's no
funny though,
fun, man.
I love tattooing, and you kind of go, well, tattooing should be enough, but it's not.
It's
If I'm
not. It's
telling
not.
people
It's
to
gotta
come
be
in,
more at a convention.
you need to have something on. You need to have something to see, whether it's competitions. Competitions are meaningless. They're nothing. It's whoever the judges are at the time thinking it's the
It's a
best.
good fun sometimes, but that's it. I mean, and I think that's what it should be. I think so, to each their own. But there are conventions where people see it like the fucking Oscars, and they're like there to earn fucking trophies. And I
That's
think that takes the idea out of it a bit.
we had a couple this year where, and it's the first time it's really happened where people were asking to see the scores. And I've seen this happen at other shows, but I've never seen it at Edinburgh before. And
No,
one guy lost, and he was round demanding to see the scores why he'd lost. I just laughed and told him to fuck off.
I
But
get way. I mean, sure, that'd be the bottle of Bucky that you get for a prize should be a fucking clue, shouldn't it? It's not a
hey,
fucking serious
we had amazing
competition.
handmade trophies this year. But yeah, even if like last year we had trophies that were made by El Rana, and they're
Aye,
beautiful trophies.
aye, of
But
course.
it's only a piece of wood with a bit of silver stuck in it, man.
Aye,
And
aye,
when
aye.
we came for a career, you're not going to go home with this one trophy and all of a sudden it's books closed. I'm booked for 100 years and I'm charging £1 million
No,
an hour. It's not
no, no,
realistic.
no.
If you want to put it in and you do well, amazing, good on you. Because if you're there, you're already doing good work. You're working
I
hard.
mean, that's the thing. You're already chosen because some people like you value the quality of work they're doing and
And even
the
if you're
clientele
not,
base and all that stuff.
we for best a day you have to be a working artist at the show, but everything else is open. So
Aye.
it gives a chance for maybe shops that I'm not aware of because you can't be aware of everyone
Aye,
now.
no.
And then if you come in and you smash it, great. But
Aye.
I do the wrangling at the side of the stage. So I line people up, I check their names, I check them off the list. But the reason I do that is I'm looking at every tattoo that's going in for the competition. So I'm aware of the standard of work.
Aye.
So I'm lucky enough I get to see it going up every year. And you see it, stuff can, and I always ask. So I've got the piece of paper in front of me with the artist's name and everything, but I'm just
Aye.
like, talk to me how long ago. None of this goes to the judges. It's just for me, so that when
Aye.
I'm
Aye.
there, if you apply and say, "Oh, right, okay, that's that person who
Well, I
had
was back in there.
that was that amazing leg piece, or that was that amazing sleeve that was in for best black and grey,"
Aye.
and it worked, and it helps me. We change the judges round, and we try and make it fun for the judges. Looks we'll
I mean,
always.
I had a great time when you shanghaied me into it last year.
That's the thing, and it should be fun. We get up
Oh
there.
no, no. People gotta understand this because Jim gave me. I'll tell you the category first, people that might be watching and listening to this, and then I'll tell you Jim's excuse he gave me, which was backed up by a Scottish lady that was on the panel with me. Because he picked me as a Danish man to be on the judging panel for best Scottish tattoo. And then I said, but you're aware I'm Danish. And he said, that's close enough. And then I told it to the Scottish woman on the panel, who's a great woman. I've talked to this year as well. She runs aftercare product, of course, from your Mars.
Yeah.
Well, she looked at me and said, "Hey, you're more Scottish than him," and pointed to the English guy on the panel with us. And she's like, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you, but
Oh, Denmark's just we can throw stones at each other for Scotland and Denmark. And you've got a big ginger beard, so you look more Scottish than most of the people here.
Aye, true, true, true. I mean, I do hide well among the fucking natives, to be honest.
Bit of sunburn, bit of red beard.
No, but it is. I do like that sort of stuff, because you have fun with it. Have a best Scottish, because of course it's the Scottish Tattoo Convention,
And
and there's some really funny stuff that comes up for that category. And I bet there was this year as well. I certainly missed it because I was busy being off having some lunch.
because that's a good thing, and I can I'm Scottish. I was born and raised in Scotland, so I can only really speak for Scotland. But people here have a good sense of humour. We don't mind taking it.
That is very apparent. If anybody ever goes, that's the first thing that happens to you is you notice how
it's done with love.
Absolutely. I keep telling people, Scottish people are abrasive, but also when they like you. Like they'll tell you compliments in an abrasive way as well.
Of course. But then you see the things coming in. So we do best Scottish. And it's more just because, obviously, Scottish tattoos, if you look at old flash from turn of the 19th, 20th century, there was always Scottish designs on them because so many Scottish people were soldiers or whatever, so they would go to Aldershot, they would go to Catterick, whatever, and they'd get tattooed with this.
I'd have thought of that.
And I don't even know that it would work in any other country, really. I don't imagine best French tattoo, best Spanish tattoo.
No, it doesn't have the same ring to it in a way,
So we're on it, but man, some of the stuff that goes in is crazy. People getting.
There was one I almost made win, only because it mixed both our cultures, so people know enough about it. Because there was one last year, there was an Ariel in a Rangers t-shirt, like a Tenants. It's just like, oh, that's Denmark and Scotland mixed.
Well, that's it. There's always a few daft football ones coming, but
there are some beautiful ones as well. Like last year, at least, there was a Thistle that was just incredibly well done. That one.
If Spain did that, it was a beauty.
It's beauty, absolute banger. But that's the thing. As much as they're good fun, they are still incredible all the tattoos that come up for these competitions.
We kind of do it. Not that it's a throwaway category, but when you're walking around, if there's like an older guy walking around that maybe got a Thistle done in his, I'm always like, man, stick it in because if Terry Wrigley
did, not? Because it's just acknowledging the old times, and that.
The tattooing's history in Scotland is really good and really strong. So it's like it's the only category they could put anything like that in for, and people appreciate it. You see it. I see tattoos from when I was a kid, or you're younger than I am, so you see tattoos that were done 40 years ago, 50 years ago. It's always cool, man. And you talk to the people about the choices they made and what they got.
I still remember. And it was many years ago by now. It was probably back in 2011 or something like that. I was on a train from Portsmouth to Wales. And I just, by chance, met this old soldier who saw back then I didn't have sleeves, so I just in a tank top, he saw my tattoo. He said, "Oh, do you want to see my tattoo?" And he showed me it, and he told me about how they tattooed each other for fun when he was a young lad before he went into the army and stuff like that. And then he got it later covered up later and all that. Like, it's great to hear. They really carries a lot of history with it sometimes, you know.
That's it. It's so interesting, and it's that whole thing of it's your local history as well. You can see the fashions and what people were getting, and people's ideas change. Obviously now tattooing's wild, man. You can get anything.
Fucking up.
You can go to a shop within 5 miles of you and get a world class tattoo.
That's true as well.
Which is wild. It's crazy.
That's why I don't get when youngsters don't save up and get a good one.
But it's not even save up, man, because tattooing is expensive. But I work with some tattooers who are unreal, and they're not charging the earth.
No.
They charge the same amount of money.
I mean, fuck, even Marcus, with how famous he is, charges the same as anybody else in the fucking Heartlines.
Like I would put myself as a pretty run-of-the-mill tattooer. I've been doing it a long time. I've been doing a pretty steady tattoo, but those people are charging the same. It's just. It's weird because obviously tattooing's so big now. It's probably the general standard should be amazing, should be higher than it is, but it's probably actually a bit worse than it's ever been. because back in the day, the people, you know, in Scotland, probably Terry and Billy Hooper were the two best known tattooers in the 70s and 80s. And the work, there was much of muchness. You know, there wasn't much between it. Terry maybe did a better swallow than Billy did a better skull, but it wasn't
Right.
much. Now, even in the one shop, you can have artists who are amazing, artists who are terrible. You know,
Right.
like absolutely terrible, but there's a market for them.
I mean, there's all different styles and tastes. So you can't, you can't fault people for their own subjective taste and that stuff. So, but it's still fascinating to do. But I will say this though, there is, as you mentioned yourself, there's quite a good standard in some of the conventions though, where people like yourself and Tony, that you keep an eye out for people where you at least admire and stand by the level of work they do.
But then I think that goes back to your pride in yourself and your pride in
Aye.
your shop or your pride in tattooing. I don't want to put on a convention that's rubbish. You know that I'm
No.
just, like the easiest thing in the world for me. With luckily enough, we have a good reputation for Edinburgh.
Aye.
We've run it for a long time. I could go and put on a massive hall tomorrow, put in 500 artists, charge them more than I charge now, and I would get the same amount of people through the door. It would
I
be rubbish.
probably.
They would be sitting there staring into space. Half the artists wouldn't work, but I'd be rich. I'd be running about in a gold-plated Harley Davidson, But that's no, I don't care.
No.
But I've seen these shows. I've been to these shows, and you're just like, why the fuck have you done this? Like,
It
just
seems like a
don't.
money grab sometimes, some of the shite ones.
As a working artist, you can smell it. As a
Aye.
customer going in, you can smell it. As soon as you,
Absolutely, absolutely. You can. I mean, the thing is, I think a bit of the organizer's personality comes through to
yeah,
conventions sometimes. And I've been to Brighton and yours are my favorites in the UK so far. You clearly tell how the organizers have thought about it when you get in. Say with yours, when you know what the cheeky fucker Jim is, you know exactly why he invited a certain special guest to the event this year.
yeah, yeah. Well, man, that was just
No,
the
it's a good laugh, but it still shows, the kind of way you think about stuff, and and
man,
before you even did it, you knew that people at the convention would have a right laugh that you
man.
invited them.
Yeah, so we invited the Oompa Loompa lady for the disaster Sri Lanka thing. But man, why not? She
Aye,
lives 20 minutes away from me. She's on Twitter, so I just sent her a message on Twitter. Do you want to come? Yeah, sure. Couple of messages done,
aye.
and it was funny. It was
She looked
just
like
like
she had a great time as well. There was so many both kids and old, and it was very funny seeing her reaction to like really heavily tattooed women, especially coming over and wanted a picture with her. And
yeah.
she's there like, I don't have any tattoos. And it's like, huh, sure, it's all right, fine.
That was her first personal appearance, and now she's
Was it?
yeah, well, because it had just happened. I think I messaged her
Oh yeah,
maybe.
that's right. It was not
Aye,
too far after it. No.
happened, I think it was. But I messaged her like 2 days later. I was like, hey, I'm running this if you want to come. It worked
That's
well.
great, man.
But yeah, I you're right. Like you're saying, like Brighton, great show. We're putting on a good show. It's down to the identity of the show.
Aye.
Go to some shows and you're like, I don't know what this is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be a serious art thing? Is it supposed to be fun? And it just falls down. And you don't maybe necessarily even recognize the people who are going. You
Aye.
know, like if you go to a show, I would expect most shows to be geared towards tattooing. So I
Aye.
expect to see not heavily tattooed, but tattooed people with an interest in tattoo art, people who will come and get a print, get a t-shirt, get a tote bag, get a tattoo. But you go to some shows and it's not. It's as if people have just brought their families for a walk around, and
What's going on in the convention center this weekend?
it's a cheap day out for the kids. Let's go. Man, like when I went to my first tattoo convention, I'd just turned 18 and I only had maybe 3 or 4 tattoos. So I didn't, and I knew nothing about it, but I was excited to be there. It was part of
Aye.
it. It's weird, but yeah, I would take that as a compliment. We do have a identity that we try and
I
set
mean,
out.
I think that it is very much meant as a compliment at least, but I think that is very clear that the best conventions have, something about them that makes that uniquely something people want to come back to sometimes. Because I met people at the Brighton one that were also going to the Scottish one, and we all had the same idea. They're like, "Oh, Brighton's awesome," and it's like so many artists and cool exhibitions like that. But then the Scottish one, we're all gonna go there, and it's like a family thing, and we're all getting together again and having a good laugh in a cool city and all that. You know, it's not just that. That's oversimplifying it because you can't really describe it, but there is something about the identity of it. You know.
The same way, we go to we go to conventions as well. So I've got Leeds coming up in about three
Aye.
weeks. We've done Leeds since the very first year, and I think there's maybe 7 or 8 of us going as a group
I do
this
want to go mainly because you guys have talked about it to me a few times and it seems so good.
and the people who organise it are such nice people. They're doing it for the right reason. Sylvia especially is just so nice. She's so straight down the line. She treats everybody like
Aye.
they're. She makes food for you. It's not they do it. She makes it, and she'll
Oh,
phone
sweet.
me, and then we'll do Bristol at the start of July. And Phil that runs that, Phil's kind of my age, very similar background, and
Aye.
Phil's right. That's a good show, great lineup. Nobody has any complaints about it because
Mm.
it's done for the right reasons. You
Aye.
know, we've got another few over the summer, and then the last one we'll do this year again will be Catania in Sicily, which
Right.
is probably my favourite show.
Really? Whoa.
It's so good. It's kind of the same size as Edinburgh. The people who run it are solid. Andrea Furci is my guy from there that I know. He's got a partner who he runs it with, but you're just made to feel same thing. It's like a family thing. You walk
Nice.
in and everybody's booths look amazing, the banners look amazing, the merch looks amazing, the entertainment's okay, which is every convention. Nobody has great entertainment at a tattoo convention.
I mean, it's sort of part of the parcel. It's not going to be like a fucking festival or anything like that. But it's always a bit, I think some of the American shows might do it a bit differently, but at least in Europe, from what I've experienced, it's a bit of part of the thing that you underplay it a little bit with the entertainment because it is about the tattoos.
It is as well, and you need to keep it middle of the road as well
Aye.
because you and I might love to go and see Motorhead play on stage at 2 o'clock on the Saturday, but the artists working don't. They
No.
don't fucking hear
But
John.
they'll steal all the attention, and most of the people will fuck off after. Like you might get loads of guests because you got fucking System of Down to play a gig or something like at a
I think
California convention. But like
Dennis that
people
used
will
to
fuck off.
Dennis Keel in Germany, he was friends with the guys from Biohazard. And Biohazard played his convention one year, which is Keel's a decent sized city, but it's not
Aye,
like maybe London or Frankfurt or something. You could put on a massive band like that, but
aye.
Dennis
No,
just
not
totally.
in a.
We went to New Jersey. Fuck, what's that? Like 2003, and Johnny Winter played. Johnny Winter's like one of the great blues guitarists of the 20th
Aye,
century,
aye,
and he's playing at 5 o'clock on a Saturday, and maybe 200 people cared. I was buzzing. It's the only chance I ever.
aye, man. That's fucking funny.
It was nice to see somebody in a crowd that was whiter than I am as well. Yeah. It was amazing, but it was a shame. It was kind of a waste because you're on
Aye.
stage, bright daylight. You can't put the lights down. You can't have
But
a
I,
PA.
but
So
that's what I was thinking about as well because it must be difficult but very worth it when you pick right. But you got to pick the entertainment carefully.
we've done so many wrong choices. There's sometimes you're standing at the side and you're just watching it like, what the fuck is this? But a lot of the entertainment.
I'd
I was
say this year was pretty good. It seemed to all get a pretty good audience.
good mix and we kind of cater to everyone. We're lucky enough. Some of the music we've had. There's a guy called Scottish Byram who we've become friendly with. He played, I think, the second or third year, and he plays as like a one man band. He's unreal, like he's
Aye.
amazing. We've seen him probably 20 times in concert as well. But then there's other things where we had a guy who begged to play. We put him on, and I would have done a better job. It was terrible. He was supposed to do two
Oh,
sets,
oh,
and I think he was doing two 20-minute sets, and we ended up cutting his first one short and just
oh,
told
fuck it all, man.
him. But then
The,
we had a lot of help. There was a lady called Rachel used to help us. She did some of the comparing and she would help with entertainment because she was a performer. She did
aye,
sight
aye,
stuff, she did sword swallowing. So she would say, I've seen this person, I've seen this person. And that really made it easy for me. And now Suzanne is a compere. She's the same. Suzanne's a burlesque
aye.
performer. She compares. So she's always keeping her eye out and saying, I've seen this act, they're pretty good, or this act that's pretty good. So you know, it's all done through word of mouth.
Aye.
We
I
don't
mean,
have anything to put out to an agency and go, give me 5 acts or 10 acts or whatever.
no,
It's
no,
done.
no. It gets impersonal as well when you do that. Like,
And that's when it starts to be shit as well, because you know we had so there's a troupe of performers who do most of the big European shows and
aye.
the fire acts and stuff. We had them twice. First year, amazing. Second year, fucking useless and
Jeez.
terrible. Sat in the dressing room getting drunk. Come out to do
Oi,
the
oi, oi.
which was lackluster. Turned up late on the Sunday.
Oh,
We're
you
just
can't do that. You can't do that.
around trying to get cocaine off everyone for free and just absolute moochies. And we never had them back. And it was just
Aye,
like,
no, no, no. You can't do that.
they,
Especially not in Scotland. You can't do that.
nobody gives you out for free in Scotland. Uh,
Aye.
it's so grim, and you're like, you think you're more important than the tattooing, you know, you've lost sight.
That's not good. You're not to start to show the tattoos are, the artists are.
Yeah.
But I think, especially talking about the compare, I think you've done a brilliant choice with the current one. And I think that's a part of the identity as well, because I remember even thinking about this when I was in the queue this year. And it's fucking awesome because you would expect nothing else, and then she comes down, play the bagpipes.
Yeah, yeah. So
It gets you in the mood immediately. There's people there who are from another country like me, maybe in the UK, or even across from Europe, gets you in the mood immediately because that's what you expect in Scotland in a way.
yeah, well, and that's obviously a traditional thing is piping people in. So they'll do that at dinners or like a burn supper. They'll pipe in the haggis and things like that. And we're really lucky with Suzanne. She's amazing. She's talented.
Aye.
She's fun, but she's also a Highland dancer. She plays the bagpipes. You know, she's like a triple threat.
Aye, she
And
is. And she doesn't stop for nothing because she got tattooed at one point and still emceed the event on the stage, which I think some people are like, oh, can she do that? You know, hurt them walking by because someone's standing towards her. It's like, of course you can. It's a tattoo convention. It,
it's no
it
fucking.
happens. Shit
You're never
happens like
putting
that.
in
That's what.
Yeah, but yeah, she's sitting there with a microphone getting tattooed by Lolo.
It's
And it's
fucking great, man.
great, man, you know, and the fact that she came along ostensibly to work, she's there at work, but
Mm.
then she's like, fuck it, I'm going to go get tattooed. You're like,
It's fucking great.
yeah, amazing.
Aye,
But
I think that's part of it. It shows it shows the drawing as well, and I mean, it makes it get that down to earth feel you like at your
yeah,
convention.
100%.
It's just I can't. That's at least my main draw. I mean, for a lot of conventions nowadays, there are some I want to see at some point that do
Mhm.
something different. Like for example, I don't know if you've seen that episode, but I interviewed a guy called Nuke from the States, and he runs one that's about anime and tattoos, and it looks amazing when I've seen it on Instagram. He said, "Hey, come along, I'll room and board you if you come and want to see the show at one point." And if I get the chance, I'll take him up on it because it's a different kind of show where they
It,
mix two different kinds of conventions together. And it seems very
yeah,
interesting.
obviously that thing is like the anime kind of crossover into tattooing is massive just now, you
Aye,
know.
it is. It is.
And there's anime conventions here every weekend. There's cosplay conventions.
Aye.
It's not something I'm overly familiar with. I don't
No, no,
know.
no, no.
But, you know, I remember very early anime or manga when I was
Aye.
younger. But yeah, I mean, if it's the same here. They do some tattooing at some of the film conventions.
Aye.
They'll put it on, and yeah, I've got mixed
Oh no,
feelings.
this is an actual tattoo convention where they've mixed it the other way around. But yeah, no, I get what you mean. There's a lot of other kind of conventions and shows now that invite tattooers along and have
Yeah,
them sit, and it's not that many either. It's just like a handful of artists that sit there.
you know, is what it is. But I'm always kind of that way. They just pecking at tattooing to make their event seem cooler, or
Aye, that's the thing.
yeah, I don't know, man.
It's
But
sort of it's almost in a way, speaking as a sociologist, appropriating the culture a little bit because they know that a lot of people from different fandoms like tattoos as well. So
yeah,
then they bring tattooing in to sort of be like, oh no, we're cool enough to have tattoos along now.
maybe you know, and I'm very tattoo biased, so I'm always like, what's your, you know, if you come in as an anime guy and that's your expertise and your background, it's like, what's your interest in tattooing? You know,
Aye.
why is tattooing? You know, if you're not 24/7 tattooing, then why do you care about it? You know, it's like me going and starting a boxing promotion or UFC. I'm not interested in it. You know,
No,
I'm
no.
a casual observer. If there's a big fight, I'll go and watch it. But do I then start doing a boxing convention with tattooing as well?
I just imagine what the fuck a boxing convention would be like.
Man, you know what would be cool though? Like the dude in Texas who runs the tattoo boxing,
Aye, aye, aye.
they set up tattooers to fight each other, and I'm like,
Oh,
man,
that would actually be fun. That would actually be a massive thing in the industry. I think if you
honestly,
started a fight ring with tattooers,
imagine like a Royal Rumble, just throw eight of
aye,
them
aye, full, mate, it would go, it would be everywhere immediately.
in.
Both women, men, and everybody else would be fucking into it and competing. Like you would see, I bet within a month of putting that on, you would see people like posting about training camps and shit like
Oh,
that, like
and
going
it's
into it.
like the montage for Rocky Four. They're out in the snow,
Ah!
all in the back.
That would actually, I'd watch that. That would be the first time I really want to watch boxing, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, but man,
You might have found the next thing you want to do now, Jim, by accident.
well, we thought about it this year because there's a bit of beef between a couple of tattooers in Scotland. I'm
Oh,
like,
I
could
hope, I hope for whoever is in the other end, it's not Big Mike, one of them, because that's gonna be a fucking,
that'd be my fucking luck. I'd pull Big Mike out the hat,
I
6
fucking
eight.
hell, man.
Aye, no, you're all right. I'll be looking for the smallest person there.
Like they're taking on Big Mike. You
But
in?
we'll see what happens with that. That's an idea that I inquired with the venue about putting a ring in, but they wouldn't have it. So,
Oh
because
shit!
I'd like to,
It's
what people are like. They talk big on the internet,
aye.
so I was going to call them out and be like, "Listen, if you actually want to fight, I'll set it up.
And it's relatively safe, if you've got the gloves on and everything and headgear and that. So.
Get headgear and you get big gloves and somebody who knows what they're doing to ref it. And
Aye,
listen,
exactly.
we're all tattooers. We spend most of our life eating shit and sitting in a chair. So it's not going to be a 12 ring match, you know.
Even the ones who are good shape still have shite backs and stuff like that.
Back, shite wrists, shite legs. You know, you're just like, fuck.
It's gotta be it might be funny, but to actual pro boxers, it's gotta be the tamest shite ever.
Terrible. Aye. It's when we have the after show and the Wes that runs the after show puts on the
Aye.
limit competition. And
Aye.
you couldn't
It's
pick
so I
a
love
what
that that's there every time. I always look forward to watching it because I even without having tattooed ever in my life, my back's already fucked enough that I don't want to do that.
I think I can go about half an inch lower than my actual height. But you're just like it's
Doesn't Kaya win it every year?
oh so we had one of our friends, Alice, is a contortionist. She's performed it,
Oh shit.
and she used to win it every year. And I was like,
Uh
we have to handicap her, we have to make her wear bigger
I
shoes.
something like because
Yeah, man, she can fold down to this size. But I think
exactly that's not fair.
Kaya did well this year, and then Wojtek from Absolute Wojtek takes
Oh
it serious.
yeah, I remember. Aye, he didn't do too bad.
It's hilarious to watch people with bad backs limbo. That for take away everything else, it's worth it just for that for the weekend for me to have a well,
But
serious man. People take it seriously.
that does bring me to an interesting topic. How important is the after party? Because a lot of
But
conventions have them. Like most conventions, I would say, have one, right?
and most of them are absolutely rubbish.
Aye. Aye.
um, we're really lucky. So Wes, who runs the after show on our behalf, Wes and his partner Bip and the guy Dan who helps him as well, they've done it probably the last 8 or 9 years for us.
Aye.
And they used to run a club night. Wes is a tattooer. He works at Insider, and he used to
All
work with
right.
us as well. So I've known Wes a long time, and they run a really good club night in Edinburgh. So we just kind of started co-opting that in as our
All
after.
right.
And they're all quite busy now, so the club night's not as regular, but they always make a point of doing the after show, and it's brilliant. I really appreciate them doing that as well because you've been to the after show. It's so good.
It's great venue. It's a great venue.
A great venue. The music's great because it's the same. It's a lot of soul. It's a lot of
Yeah.
R&B. Nothing too in your face, but everybody can dance to it. You
And the
know,
live act this year was brilliant as well.
yeah, and that was Wes's band.
Oh,
So Wes
exactly.
was singing for them because the other band we had pulled out kind of last minute. So Wes stepped in, and they were great, man. They were
Aye.
so. But you go and then you see tattooers from America or whatever else, and they all come at the after show. So it's busy, every year.
Aye.
a
I had a
lot of
good talk with Big Mace and some of his lot, you know.
when you see all those guys dancing, and you're like, if you don't like, I know Mees very well. He's guested with me in shop since 2010. But if you don't know him, he's a big, burly,
Ah, he's a
intimidating
big bastard with a massive beard and
guy.
all that.
And then you speak to him, and he's an absolute sweetheart. He's such a nice
I will
guy.
say this though, for the guys we've given the nickname Big at this convention, they're quite apt. Like it fits.
That's it. But yeah, but then they come to the after show, they'll go up, they'll dance, they'll chat to everyone,
Very friendly. It's
and
so I love the after show. Like I wouldn't miss it for anything because it's such a nice time to just talk to people. And
for us as well, for me and the people in the crew that help, is we go out, we
and you
bring
get to cut loose a bit.
food and then we come across. So it's a chance for us to unwind as well.
Aye.
Our work's done. Wes and Bip and Dan do the after show. We turn up, we have a dance, we make sure everybody's got a drink, we make sure everybody's having a good time. We pull you up. If you don't want to be in the dance floor, tough. You're fucking coming up and you're dancing. Last year was the first one back after lockdown, and it was
Aye.
amazing.
Well, that was incredible. That
Yeah,
was.
I've got the video on my phone. It finished at 3 and it's 3:05. The music's still on, and we're doing a conga line around the whole venue, and it's
I
packed.
remember. It was fucking brilliant. It was absolutely fucking brilliant.
And it's just the perfect end to the weekend for us. And those guys take care of it all for me. So we just turn up, and I know them, and they're such nice people. The music's going to be great. The decor's going to be great. The venue, Matt that runs the venue, is super nice with us as
I
well.
met him.
So
He's a great guy. Great guy. But I mean, that's the thing. Like when I listen to all these different aspects of what goes into a convention, it seems so really is crucial to running a good convention. It's knowing who you're working with and making sure everybody works well together.
same as anything, though. Same as a shop, same as a
Right.
podcast. If you've got other people, you need to have that trust there. You know,
Aye.
I don't have the inclination all the time to micromanage everything. So, I'm lucky enough that the people who help are people with a similar mindset to me. And that goes across the shops as well. The people I work with in the shops, the people at the convention, I wouldn't let them down. They don't let me down.
Aye.
And if they see something that they think isn't right, they'll deal with it. If I see something that's not been done how I want it done, I'll deal with it. And just to have that, it makes it so much easier. The first couple of years with the convention, we were finding our feet with no clue what we were doing. It was just trying to delegate jobs, and you're just walking around in circles for 2 days trying to keep an eye on everything. And now I don't have to do that, because
Now everybody knows.
everybody knows their roles. We turned up this year, people were doing burn sinks, putting tables out, and you don't even have to ask. You don't. It's unspoken now, man, and it's great. It's so good, and I can't overstate that. If it wasn't for all of that, it wouldn't have kept going so long. It's just the
No, because
fact.
that's what makes it enjoyable to you as well, that you can rely on these people and they know
That's
what
why,
to do as well.
right back at the very start when you said about it doesn't seem that stressful, and I mean it is stressful. I'm not going to
Aye,
lie.
of course, of course, of course, of course.
Easy, but it's a lot less stressful because people always come up and they go, "You don't look very stressed." And well, I'm not, because I know we've done our job. We've done everything in the run up. All the prep is right. All the planning's right. If I'm still panicking on the Saturday, it means I haven't worked hard the 6 months before. But I know I have. So I know the tables are booked. I know the entertainment's booked. I know the compere is good. I know the people taking the money are trustworthy. I know the people who are giving the kitchen roll or razors or going out the back know what they're doing, because it's all people who are my family and my friends for 20 years, 30 years. So that's why I never look stressed at the convention, because we've done the stressful hard work in the run up to it. The convention takes itself. By the time it gets to Sunday, man, we're in holiday mode.
That is impressive how relaxed Jim can get on the Sunday of the
Yeah, man.
convention.
Once it gets to 4 o'clock, I don't give a fuck. Burn it down. People have been in, they've been tattooed. Fuck it, let's go.
I just torched the fucker. Let's clean up.
There was one year we had a fire alarm at 10:40. We open at 11 o'clock, and we had a fire alarm at 10:45 because I'll call her out because she's nice, but Savina Fox decided she was going to practice her fire breathing under a fire alarm.
God.
So
She's very nice, but that is a silly move to make.
man, she's apologised a million times, but that's probably the only major stress we've had. We daft things, people getting we've had now 11 conventions, say, I don't know, man, 3,500 people a year come, so say
Oh,
30,000 people, and we've had maybe 3 people thrown out in all that time just for drinking too much or
that's
stuff.
incredible.
And you compare it to a football match.
Aye.
That last 90 minutes, we're open 11 till 11 and 11 till 8. And the bar's open all day, and Scottish people like to
Aye.
drink.
I mean,
Uh,
you tell me.
I will exactly, not me, but those guys do.
I
So,
know, I know you don't, but
but that's the other thing as well. The atmosphere is nice with that. People come, they're respectful, and they look after each other.
aye.
So it's
I,
good.
I mean, most people just there are nice and they'll talk to That's what I like about. I think that's I think to the Scottish people as well. They'll talk to strangers and that as well. If you just are nice and calm, you'll have a conversation in no time.
Yeah, no, good. There was
And
a group of guys used to come every year, and they would hire a minibus, like a coach, and maybe 8 of them would come, and they would drink all day. So they'd get there at 11, get in. I don't know if they ever get tattooed or anything. I only ever saw them in the bar, but we do like face painting for the kids and stuff. So we'd get to maybe 5 p.m. and the guys would be face painting. There's a picture that I think it's on Facebook, and there's a Ninja Turtle, a skull, Spider-Man, and these are guys like in their 40s, like football guys, and they're steaming. And every year, and so the security from the venue would run around and be like, these guys are really drunk. You need to go and talk to them. And after maybe 3 years, you walk around and it's the same 6 or 8 guys, and you're just like, all right, what time's your bus? And they're like, half an hour. I'm like, keep the noise down, don't annoy anybody, and then fuck off when your boss comes and they'll be like, cool, see you next year. And they would come every year. You're like, that's amazing, man.
that is also the most Scottish reaction to that. All right, just pipe down, keep it nice, and fuck off when your boss comes.
Fuck off when your boss comes. And they're like, I know.
That
There's no
sounds like a more modern version of get on your bike.
I was. But fair fucks to them, man. They came every year. They bought a
Aye.
ticket. They had a nice time. They would get absolutely steaming, and then, then they'd just go home with their face painted like a ninja turtle.
But obviously, it is a really good social area as well, the bar, because it's right there, center of the thing, and it's right by the food as well, which was also quite brilliant as well, because it's Scottish street food, but it's really nice. Like people
Aye,
don't imagine that when you say Scotland is street food, I think, when they're not from Scotland, but it's
aye,
really nice, tasty food.
we're not known for our cuisine, but same again. That comes round to using the same catering company
Aye,
every year. We don't throw it open to the highest bidder every year because Danny that runs the catering has never let me down. He came along on year 2, I think, just as a young man starting out his business, and now his business is huge. But
aye,
he up, he was fair, food was good, no complaints, perfect. Come back next year. I don't.
absolutely.
I think, to be honest, not that it's anyone's business, but I think he pays the same now as he did in 2012.
Fucking hell.
Never put his rent up because he's never let us down.
That's
Like,
great, though.
so there's no point me trying to rinse him every year and go, right, your rent's double or 30% higher or 40% higher because I don't need the hassle of trying to find someone else. He's
Mm.
really good. It's perfect. He's nice to everybody. All my guys eat for free when they go out.
Oh,
Perfect. We'll
I
see you
mean,
next. Well,
that's important. That's important when you see some of the guys.
that's it. I think Big Larry's barred, but everybody else is all right.
Again, aptly named Big Larry.
That's probably our biggest expense is keeping Larry and his laddie and snacks.
Well, to round this off a bit here at the end, Jim, I don't know how much you want to give away of the game or anything like that, but have you got any special plans for next year? Because you might already be cooking a bit, I imagine.
Special plans. No, man, pretty much more of the same. I'm
Aye,
talking to a couple of entertainers. We might do a little kind of art exhibition
aye,
between the convention time. I'm talking to a venue about that just now, but no, I mean convention wise, I'm pretty happy with it. I don't want to mess with it too much. There's a couple of artists who I'm talking to who we've never had before. Who,
all
if
right.
I pull it off, I'll be buzzing because they're people that I'm a massive fan of. So
Oh,
to bring it
nice.
down into Edinburgh to the wider kind of Scottish public is something I'm really looking forward to. If we can pull it off, every year I like to bring 2 or 3 artists who I'm buzzing to, because
Aye, of course.
I'm proud of Scotland. I'm proud of the show. I want people to come and see it and be like, "Oh, this is a good time," or the country's beautiful. Scotland's a beautiful country. There's a
Aye,
lot to hear. The scenery's amazing. We're usually pretty lucky with the weather as well. We're just in the
mm,
cusp of spring at the end of March. So no, if those can pull off, I'll be really happy. But the general schedule and the general layout will stay the same. The venue is perfect for us because
Aye.
the venue is really nice.
Oh, it
There's a
is. It is.
there's a lot of grey concrete boxes
And
out
it's
there.
easy to get to as well.
It's easy to get to. It's central. There's a huge supermarket next door if you need snacks during the day, or
Oh, I've spent some hours in that supermarket.
McDonald's. There's stuff across the road. There's a Starbucks if people want a different coffee or whatever.
Aye, aye.
So it's pretty perfect. No, maybe just we'll start looking at the entertainment first. I think we're going to be invite only next year, just because so
Right.
many artists are returning artists. The posters, I spoke to a couple of the artists who are doing posters for us, so
I mean, Marcus is going to do one as every year, I would imagine.
hopefully
Hopefully.
I can twist his arm. I saw him today, so I'll do some arm twisting when I see him on Thursday.
Aye, aye, aye.
But no, I was speaking to one of the artists who'd been there this year, True Blue, so he's going to do as a poster as well.
Oh, nice.
I'm excited about that. So hopefully we'll get that in July, and then we can have it ready for London, Bruges,
Oh.
the other ones, Catania.
Oh, that's the other thing. Now this will probably be out by that time,
Okay,
hopefully. But you're going to be judging in London this year.
Yeah, well, I've judged at London the last two.
Oh, nice.
So they're just doing. It's good. It's a different system.
And you're going to be sitting with a man. I sadly couldn't get him to come on this one because he's been way too busy lately. But he was on a former tattoo podcast I tried to put on Derp. So
right.
that's kind of fun. I had a good giggle at that. I wish I could have gone this year. It would have been
So
fun to see both of you.
I don't know Dirk. I've met him once very briefly when he
Right.
because he was married to Savina. So I met him
Yeah, no.
before, and then Mies is doing it as well. So he's coming over. So it'll be nice just to meet Mies in London. And then I think Kelly Doty's doing it. She's just moved to Edinburgh, but same again. I don't know her, but her work's amazing. I only really know her from TV, but she seems nice. She's like a good character. And Nicole Lowe's doing it again. Nicole's someone I've known a long time, and I really admire her. Tattoos are amazing. She's a nice person. She's crackers, but she's good value. So
I mean, that's a blue stamp in Scotland, to be honest, being a bit crackers.
honestly, that's it. Life's too short to hang about with boring people, right? So, I know Nicole and I were on the judging panel last year, and Grace Newton was there as well, the same year before. So it was nice.
Nice.
Nicole used to work for a guy that I did some work with as well. I'm looking forward to it, man. And Perry and Martin that run the show, they're nice people, man. I like them both.
Nice. I mean, if I has a stroke of luck, I'll be there as well, despite having to survive the London heat at that time of year.
I mean, the venue's like a really nice modern venue. It's but it's a good show. It's kind of different. It's not like the old London Tobacco Dock. That was to me, that's the defining tattoo convention in my life.
And sadly never made it. I'm very sad about that.
Well, I did a bit of work with Marcus that used to run it with Mickey. So I was there every year, and we used to do supplies, we had the stencils and stuff. So I was lucky enough as like a fairly new artist to be in at the ground floor and see London start out and all the way through.
Jeez, that is.
It was wild, and that's what helped me make so many connections. So the first year we put the convention on, Robert Hernandez was there, Barra was there, Jim Miner, fucking these other people who I'd met, Dave Fox, Scott Smith, guys who are fucking heroes to me. Barra is my favourite tattooer, I think, in the world. We were able to bring him along because, I was in a fortunate position of getting to travel to conventions and be on that ground floor and then chat to them at London, Barcelona, or whatever. And when we came along, we started strong with that.
That is a pretty fucking strong start, to be fair.
Unbelievable, man. The first Edinburgh show was, I think, 110 artists, and probably fucking 30 of them, 40 of them would still be headliners at any tattoo convention in Europe now. And it was
incredible.
It was just down to approaching them properly, approaching them with a bit of respect and saying, look, this is what we're trying to do. Would you like to come along?
I mean, that's very much it. And despite how socially awkward and clumsy it could be sometimes when I let my head out, I do get that. That's been my experience as well. Even inviting people with this podcast, that most people are willing to do it, even though I can't provide anything. Like
But
because you're just respectful, tell them what it's about, and
if people see
yeah.
you're treating it with respect and people see you're passionate about it, I
Oh,
think that
thank you
goes
very much,
way
man.
big. Because it's the same for me. I'm passionate about what I do. So if I see it or if people are talking to me, man, if I talk to you for 5 minutes, I'll convince you to come to Edinburgh. That's just
So you
because
don't have to convince me.
you know, but and that's the same. So when I started like even talking about doing the convention, we wrote a list of maybe 100 artists who were like the dream, like people who I really admired back then, and we went. If I still had that list now and I went through it, I'd guess probably 90 of them have been, So
Nice.
for me, that's an absolute buzz. And then
Absolutely, man.
some of them just don't tattoo. Some of them are still on the list. There's still artists who would love to come. And as I say,
Aye.
hopefully we've got a couple of them coming next year. We'll work.
Hopefully.
That'd be good.
Right, Jim, we gotta hang up the towel before we start
Okay.
another episode on this one. Even though I fucking love talking to you, man. It's been fucking great. So here at the end, first of all, Jim, I don't know it goes without saying, but I want to say it anyways. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, no worries, man. It's been a pleasure.
Even though you sort of invited yourself because I was too chicken to ask you. That's a little behind the scenes thing. Jim came up at the after party convention this year and said, "Hey, why have I not been invited to a podcast yet?" And
I
just
mean, you keep drop calling me shirtless and that for your couch. I can take a hint.
and I just said to him, "Oh, didn't you think you wanted to do it? Ah, you daft bastard, man! Just invite me on."
Fuck
So
that.
I hope you enjoyed it, Jim. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm really happy you came on, man.
And it's good. I love talking about tattoos. I love talking about tattoo conventions.
That makes
It's
two of
what I
us.
spend most of my day doing anyway, so it's good.
So, Jim, before you go, or before we end the episode of this, uh, anything you want to plug? Like the convention, of course, Scottish Tattoo Convention.
Nah, man, I'm pretty good with that. Like, obviously, no, nah, nothing really. Just if you are interested in tattooing, I would say check out Terry Martin's book on tattoo history in the UK. It's quite new that he
Aye,
launched that at the convention this year. It's amazing. It's one of the best books in tattooing. Like I would consider myself a tattoo nerd, and
aye.
I'd fucking no clue about half of this stuff. It's wild and it's so well put together. I've got a history talk that I need to put up on the Scottish Instagram
Aye.
that him and Lau and Les Bowen
Whoa.
did last year. I'm so old and I'm such an old useless technophobe that I can't figure out how to load it. I've had it for about 3 months and I'm just like, fuck, I need to figure out how to do
Oh,
that.
for fuck's sake, Jim.
No, as far as plugging it in from us, nah, man. If you're interested in good tattoo conventions, Leeds is coming up, Bristol's coming up. I don't know when this will go out.
Aye.
And obviously, come to Edinburgh, go and check out
Aye.
the
See,
convention.
last week in a match every year, right?
Aye, I will be on last weekend in March.
Aye. Which is always a good time. Lovely Scottish spring weather at that time. Usually, at least, at a convention like we talked about. Pretty
No
lucky.
sky at the back of me here. Look at that.
Aye.
That's blue sky.
Aye, I know. I mean, people think it rains all the time in Scotland. It's only part of the time.
We just tell tourists that so they don't come.
That would be very Scottish, to be honest. Right, Jim, thank you so much for being on. And to anybody who's watching or listening in, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Perfect.
Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode with the awesome James Aitken, who, as you know now, and might have known already, hosts and organizes the amazing Scottish Tattoo Convention. He's been running that convention for a long, long time. And that's why I felt it was awesome to get Jim on an episode where we talk about conventions and how you host a great one, what you might fall into if you're doing it wrong, and how you can improve it, basically, but without being too, how can you say, judgmental or anything like that. It's all about the identity of the show and how you welcome people and make it something everybody can be a part of in that sense. And that's really the most important thing, as Jim also pointed out so well during the episode. Now, aside from this, next time we're going to be talking about something a little different. We're going to be talking to the awesome Laura Schack, who I interviewed about tattoo apps nowadays. And that's a broad category. I know there's a lot of them out there. And we talked a bit generally about it, but especially about the kind of apps that try to help us collectors and tattoo artists sort of connect with one another and figure out how to get some great tattoo projects going. And Laura's made the awesome app Tatted, which we're also going to be talking about and how that's going. And all in all, it's going to be a great episode talking about something that's becoming more and more prudent within the tattoo world, the onslaught, as some might call it, or I would rather say the onset, to be less judgmental, of apps that want to help the consumer and the artists streamline and improve their work process. And of course, they're not for everyone, but I hope it'll still be educational for all of you, and I'll see you in the next episode.